Hey y'all, welcome to Geek Freaks. I am Frank, and today I'm joined by Thomas.
What's going on, everybody?
And we have Scott.
What's up, nerds?
I want to throw Scott under the bus real quick. He's currently 53 minutes late for our recording because he was napping too hard.
Midnight oil.
I'm usually on time for everything, and then I just totally forgot when I went to bed last night. Didn't set an alarm, and now I'm the bad guy.
Yep, officially the bad guy. All right, guys, we're gonna be starting off with our question of the week. What is your favorite geek memorabilia? Thomas, what do you got? Because I know Scott basically said he ain't got none. So what do you got, Thomas?
So I think for me, my few prized possessions now, I have, a massive collection of pop sockets. I haven't been able to display. You have, Frank, beautifully in the background because my wife doesn't want those publicly displayed. Makes sense. But the other thing is we have our guest bedroom, and it's the nerdiest place in my house. But I have all these Marvel posters in there. I have classic images of comic books, but I also have 2 signed posters. One is from the full cast of Avengers. I got Samuel L. Jackson on there, Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr., all that stuff. And Stan Lee's on there, which I'm so stoked about. And then the other thing was I have a signed Ragnarok poster from Taika. And I think those are my 2 prized possessions that I get to display, and it feels nice to have those.
That Taika poster, that's outstanding. That's so cool. Confirming on Twitter, Naras/Scott of Geek Freaks. I don't really invest in memorabilia. I just buy books. So what's your favorite book that you've bought?
Who's the nerd
Let's go with
now?
that for you.
Oh, my favorite. I mean, okay, actually, I do have 2 things, and I can show them to you.
Okay, boom, here we go. This is for the video watchers at home. He's running, guys. He's running quickly. That chair spun around. I'm narrating now for the podcast that Frank's probably going to edit this out. We'll see.
It's kind of like Inspector Gadget with the bad guy. He's going to jump in the chair and then spin around, and we're going to have this big reveal, but then his face will still be blacked out. We'll never know. And he's also wearing a sick Cobra Kai shirt. So that's pretty cool. Props on the Cobra Kai shirt. Dude.
Thanks.
Oh, hell
Which was funny. So I originally saw it at Hot Topic.
Okay.
Because my girlfriend, we went to the mall because she wanted to go to Hot Topic.
Let's go to the mall today.
And we saw this shirt in there, but of course it's Hot Topic, so it was $25 or some shit. I'm I ain't spending $25 on a t-shirt. Sorry. We went to Walmart later that day or the next day or something. Same shirt, $7.
Yeah.
So I have
Patience prevailed.
I have this wand.
Ooh.
Oh, nice.
Okay. I actually have a Voldemort wand, but that's not my favorite possession. So this is from a place called Wizard Quest at Wisconsin Dells, Wisconsin. Which is a little tourist town, basically, right? They have water parks and just tourist trap stuff. But this Wizard Quest place was actually really, really cool. And you have this little tablet, that you have, and they've got this this indoor, this building with just this whole indoor setting where they've built a fantasy world, with just practical effects and built props and stuff. And it's you have these little quests you can do, and you're trying to find mysterious items. There's secret passageways. It was a lot of fun. Also, I worked at a place called Kings Mill. It's a resort here in Virginia. And I think the statute of limitations is up on this. The DNC, the Democratic National Convention, came to have their DNC meeting at Kings Mill. And the Secret Service came because the president might come kind of thing. They searched our cars. I'm a little bit worried about
what you're about to show us all of a sudden.
I know.
They searched our cars when we came to work and stuff. It was crazy. Anyways, so I worked the banquet, event setup team. So we set up the room, where they had their meetings and stuff. and then we cleaned them up. When they left town, like the DNC left, and they left this gavel.
Oh wow!
What?
Nice.
Whose gavel is that?
Yeah, seriously.
So I have a DN. It's mine now.
There you go.
But
and
who
that
did it
was
belong to? Who was like in charge of the gavel at that meeting?
I don't know. Okay,
The judge,
somebody
probably?
from Congress, I assume.
Yeah.
What year was this?
This was 2007.
Nice.
I'm looking this up
2008.
afterwards. We're gonna see.
Yeah.
We're gonna see who was in charge of the DNC at that time. They were the one using that gavel. And
Yeah.
so you might have somebody cool. You might have
Yeah.
a turd, but it might be somebody cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I have no idea. No idea.
I mean, I
Well,
And
guess
actually,
that counts
and
as
I could
geek
be
memorabilia.
It could even be the RNC. I just remember
Right.
one of them came, and because like I said, this was 2007, I think. Let's see. Yeah, broke my knee in 2006. Worked at Water Country. Yeah, so this would have been.
I love that's the marker.
It is,
Well, when I broke my knee in 2006, so that after that, the next year,
I mean, broke my
I
knee
got
in
this
2006. Met my girlfriend in 2010. That's kind of my mile.
those are the milestones. Yeah, got it.
Yeah. And then presidential elections. Yeah, Donald Trump was president, so it was after 2016.
Whoa, we're getting way into politics over here.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't remember if it was the DNC, the RNC, but Congress and
How am I going to
governors
use this in the podcast? That's what I want to know. I want to know what part of this is making it in.
Anyways,
the whole thing.
That's the most interesting thing about me right there is I robbed Congress one day.
And I'm going to find out who it was and send an email out. So
hey, look,
get ready.
There's my alarm. Time to wake up.
They
guys.
did a bunch of usefulness for us. Oh my God. I swear to God.
So, Frank, what is
My
your
favorite memorabilia
please?
is,
Please tell us.
I mean, I've got a little Lego Boba Fett ship. I mean, if that helps.
Slave One.
So, Frank, what was your favorite?
Superman Wedding Album came out like 95. It was my very first comic book. And so it's one of them. I don't know. You guys can kind of see. I have comic books mounted to this wall.
Yeah.
And it's some of my favorites. Punisher versus like the What If where Punisher kills Spider-Man. But one of them on there is the Superman Wedding Album. It's my favorite one. It's my very first comic book. It's one of my favorites. And it blew me away because I bought it when I was a kid, just knowing, hey, I told my parents, this is going to be a collector's edition someday. And that's just how I bought comic books in the beginning. And halfway through the book, Superman's talking about how he's stressed out about his wedding and taking the day off of, not so much about the wedding part, but taking a day off of protecting Metropolis. And Batman says, don't worry, we got you covered. And all the heroes of DC protect Metropolis for one day so he can go get married. And it's just this really cool flyover shot of Batman talking to Superman. And you just see like Green Lantern and everybody flying over them, patrolling Metropolis so that Superman can take a day off. Double-sided page. It's really awesome.
Yeah.
And, it's in that comic.
See, Scott, that's geek memorabilia. No, yeah. That's,
I mean, you can take the gavel thing out, but I just remembered, I have this gavel, and I stole it from Congress, and I think that's pretty cool. I don't know.
I might have to. I'm looking it up, and then we're gonna see if it's incriminating. And if it's still in, it's not incriminating.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
If you guys didn't hear much about it,
yeah. And then if we don't hear from you.
It's been 15 years. I think the statute of limitations is up on that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Senator in 2007 is possibly president now, so I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Oh,
that's true. That's true.
Exactly.
And you know what? That would be interesting.
That would be.
So you might actually have El Presidente's gavel. So it might not make the episode, just to be safe. I don't know. We'll see. All right. Moving forward, we're going to be starting Geek Chats again. We had this during The Mandalorian. They're starting this Friday. Thomas, this is your baby, man. Tell us all about Geek Chats and what to expect.
Yeah, so I don't know if we've set on a day yet, But what it is after we watch Secret Invasion or whatever the new show, but it is going to be Secret Invasion, we want to chat with you guys. So this is an open forum for all of the people who are fans of the show or just want to talk about geek news every day. The floor will be yours and we'll set up the space. You just come join us. It's going to be on Twitter. Sorry if you don't like Twitter or don't have it. We can find other options, but you have to message us on Twitter to let us know you want different options. For Fridays, kind of mid-morning-ish Pacific Standard Time. If there's another time that works better for majority of people, we'll figure it out. But as of right now, we're thinking, Fridays, 11 a.m., just spitballing here. We'll send out a message on all the social media. But
that's what the graphic said that I made, so I'm going with that one.
Okay, cool.
Let's go with that, yeah.
Perfect.
Come and join us, guys. It will be focused on Secret Invasion, and at that point, you have enough time to be avoiding spoilers. But we'll also talk about other geek culture stuff that happens that week. So it's just a good time to come in and voice your opinion and just hang out with us. And it helps us kind of form what we're going to be doing moving forward. So again, guys, that's Friday, 11 a.m. We'll have reminders and links in Twitter, so you can click on that and it'll set a reminder for you. Let's head over to our quickies. First off, Christopher Lloyd, Cary Elwes, Stockard Channing, and a few more are joining the Knuckles cast. This is for Paramount Plus. It's going to be a series. It's going to be taking place between Sonic 2 and 3. Cary Elwes, I'm glad that he's getting back into the acting game because Princess Bride's amazing. And I miss him from like classic 80s movies. So it'll be good to have him back.
Yeah, that cast is stacked, and it's for like a Knuckles movie. Like, yes, I guess we do need some backstory there because they don't give you a lot of it in Sonic 2, but it's like, how are they going to interact with Knuckles? I mean, that's an insane cast, and kind of on the older side too, so it's going to be interesting. I'm curious to see what they do with that.
Even more so, it's a series, not even a movie. It's just a Paramount Plus direct series with Idris Elba still. Like, he's still playing Knuckles in this.
Right.
So, yeah. It's pretty crazy how expensive this show is going to become all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Superman and Lois, which, Thomas, you've watched this show quite a bit. They cut 7 other cast members. They're going to be promoting Michael Cudlitz, who's going to be their Lex Luthor. He popped up in the last season. But they're promoting him to a season regular. But they're cutting 7 others. And a lot of this is because CW is trying to go, like, adult mode and ditch the superhero thing, which is a shame because it's kept the doors open for 10 years. What are your thoughts on this, Thomas?
It's going to be weird. Like, I'm not going to say it's going to be bad until I see it, but some of those people, they've built a lot of big storylines around those characters. And some of them, I think have become fan favorites. So it's going to be interesting to see what the show is like without those characters in it. Mm-hmm. But give the people what they want too. Like, more people want to see Lex Luthor versus Superman. So yeah, I mean, I guess if they're going to go all into that, really build a nice, cool story around it. Yeah, it could work.
I hear that they're going to be scaling back on the kids too, but nothing official yet. It's going to be focusing more on on actual Superman and Lois, which is a shame because the premise of the first season was like, we have kids and they're opposites of each other and stuff like that.
Totally. And then one gains powers and one doesn't. Oops. Spoiler alert for the first season, but you've had a lot of time,
What?
My bad. But I honestly really dig this show. The guy who plays Superman is fantastic.
He is.
The special effects are really damn good. It's definitely a step above the Arrowverse and Flash. I mean, even Supergirl, I think the special effects in Superman Lois is better. Yeah, I'm not hating on it. I actually liked a lot of Supergirl, but the Superman Lois is definitely feels like a next level. So yeah, I would say if you haven't checked it out,
Superman too. Like, he does a hell of a good job portraying him.
Oh yeah, he's by far one of my favorite on-screen Superman ever. Like, I wouldn't say above Henry Cavill, but he's definitely up there.
I think I have Brandon Roth as my favorite. Which
interesting choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a small fan,
I did like that.
Like, cult fan favorite of his. And then when he went to join Legends of Tomorrow, he was in the Arrow first, but then he went to Legends of Tomorrow. And he was just so cool in Legends of Tomorrow. And there was like one part where I did play Superman for a bit again.
Yeah, that was cool. That was a cool nod to his past. I like that.
Yeah. He's dope. All right, and then moving on to our last quickie here. Thousands of subredditors protest. We're actually going to be going in depth of this at the end of the episode. And they shut down Reddit for 48 hours. They actually just reactivated this. I just checked today. Reddit is going through problems again and has been telling people, has been telling moderators you'll lose your moderator status if you don't open up your subreddit again now. And so the Reddit bosses who at first were like, oh, this is just a blip on the radar, it's not a big deal, we don't care, are now like threatening to remove some of their moderators, which is, go ask Twitter how that works out if you do that, and having a hell of a time. We're going to go in depth on this, but Reddit's becoming like what's that called? Like where you're able to be traded on the stock market and stuff. I'm not rich and fancy, so don't quote me on that. But yeah, so they're trying to make it more profitable, and that's part of this whole problem. It's just becoming a mess over there. We'll break down that full story at the very end. Let's get into our reviews. We first have Transformers Rise of the Beast. We're going to lightly try to avoid spoilers, but I know that there's a big thing at the end that everybody's already discussing that you're just going to have to hear about, guys. So, Thomas, you want to...
Sure. I'm like, how do I do light spoilers on this? Okay, so I will start with this. I didn't have major expectations for this movie. I went in just, super low, ground level, like I'm just gonna have a good time. I'm gonna watch robots beat each other up, and I'm gonna see robots where animals turn into other robots. Like this is just gonna be a wild time. And as I was watching, I'm like, wow, this is actually really good. Like Anthony Ramos' character is like really cool. He does such a good job in the movie. And then you fill it in with a pretty unique Autobots and Maximal story, and it really works well together. There's a lot of funny moments. The voice acting cast is stellar. Like I didn't realize Pete Davidson's Mirage was so big, but he plays a large role in the movie.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, and it's funny, it's Pete Davidson. He's like, a lot of the laughs in the beginning of the movie are from him, and then Anthony Ramos has this like adorable little brother he's taking care of, and the little brother is so Brooklyn. He's so like, hey, you protect my brother, I'm gonna beat you down, and the robots, and that all really works, and the Maximals are cool. So it gets over the top towards the end. But it's what you want. It's like this all-out battle with the Maximals and Autobots versus all of these like just Decepticon creatures, and they're just like beating them down, explosions everywhere. So that part of it's awesome.
How does the Maximals work with the Transformers world? Does it feel like, because they had to have been here the entire time, right? My Maximal references are from the 90s cartoon, so kind of keeping that in mind.
It's so confusing. I watched this recap of all the Transformer movies. I don't know if this is a soft reboot or if this is a continuation. I don't know it all. And I haven't watched any of the last movies to like really dive deep to care. So again, I didn't know where it was. All I know is it feels like it was connected to Bumblebee. And
yeah, from my understanding, this is a sequel to Bumblebee, not to those other ones. I could definitely be wrong on that. Bumblebee was good. I liked that one.
Bumblebee was awesome. Yeah, and this feels like it's connected to that. There is nods, it feels like, to the early movies with Michael Bay, but again, this feels to me almost like its own thing, and it works really well that way. But there's also some like time warpy stuff involved with it. And that's still, it kind of adds to the story. It makes it unique. Best friends when they first meet, so that also kind of adds to it too.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
What would you grade this? Let's get a grade on this one. For the
letter grade.
Letter grade. Yep.
Ooh. I'd say solid B plus, maybe A minus. Like it really. It surprised me.
Way higher than I expected. Yeah.
Yeah, it like really surprised me. I had a ton of fun. The audience in the theater, it was just, an early screening. So usually when you go to those things, everybody's a super fan, right. Super nerd, and they're just stoked, right? So it got a ton of out loud laughs. It got a ton of applause. There's this moment in the movie, I'm not going to spoil it, but a character really gets their chance to shine, a fan favorite character. And that was awesome. What they do with the human characters in it, I think was really well done. I don't remember what the girl's name is off the top of my head, but she's something Fishback, Dominique Fishback, I think. She's awesome as well. And yeah, it was like a tighter story than I was expecting. And then, yeah, you get the cool transforming action of just like robot on robot, like decimation. It was tight.
We're going to go into deep spoilers here, guys, for the end of the movie. So if you have to, Scott, go, no, plug your ears if you need to. I know you're a big fan, but...
Oh, yeah, I was so like, woo, I'm going to go watch all of this.
This actually got me really excited, though, for this Transformers universe they're building. Can you break down this crazy ending that everybody's talking about?
Yes. So yeah, super spoilers on this one. But I literally leaned over to my friend before and I was like, how cool would it be if, Hasbro figured out a way to make the G.I. Joes a thing? And so the whole movie, Anthony Ramos's character is like having a really hard time. He's trying to be a good guy and he's trying to get a job, a really good job to like support his family, and he can't get a job. So he goes in for a job interview, and the guy knows what adventure he just went on with the Transformers. So, he's like doing the typical interview thing. And at the end, he's like, I know where you just were, opens up this booklet, slides it over to him, and boom, in bold letters, it's like the G.I. Joe program. And then this like office room transforms into this hangar, and there's all this crazy like tech and ships in there and stuff. And the whole crowd, including me, was like, yeah. So I want a good Transformers. I want a good G.I. Joe movie so bad. As I was telling you, let's talk about memorabilia. How did I not bring this up? Every Christmas, my grandpa would send me one G.I. Joe that was like a collector's edition. And I still have them all in boxes. I never opened them up, even since I was like a 10-year-old, So I have this huge box of G.I. Joes. And oh man, it just makes me so excited. I hope they do something really well with it. And yeah, just make me a good G.I. Joe movie. I'll be fired up. And this seems like it opens the door for that.
Yeah, it kind of feels like the Avengers Initiative moment with Nick Fury walking in on Iron Man.
Yes,
so,
it did.
Cool.
It did. And it got me hyped like that. I was not expecting that from this movie at all. And man, so sick. Oh, can't wait.
I'm not sure if it's the same toy company, but now when we watch the Barbie movie, if I don't see somebody slide over a folder to Ken at the end of this, I'm going to be pissed off.
Yeah. Ken, welcome to the G.I. Joe Initiative.
Welcome to the Joes.
Yeah. Go Joe, Ken.
All right, guys. Let us know what you guys think. Just pick one. Grades again, and that just helps Frank out. So we're moving on over to Star Trek Strange New Worlds. We have the season 2 episode 1 premiere. We're back in action. Scott, can you give us a rundown of what this episode is about, or where we're at in the story for all of Strange New Worlds?
Oh wow, okay. So I just binged the entire first season and that episode yesterday.
Nice and fresh,
so yeah, I've got a lot of Star Trek in my brain. So basically, the season finale left us, there was no like storyline being continued. There was no cliffhanger. So we just kind of start out. They're going into space dock for maintenance, and the captain had to go do something. Oh yeah, because I'm really bad with the names, but there was the one officer. Captured. Yeah, the one officer was arrested for violating the eugenics laws, for being Illyrian, I think it was called, the race. And so he goes off to try and defend her. We don't really see much of that. We see more.
Episode 2 is all about like him trying to save her, basically, I think.
Right, probably. So we see, Spock is acting captain, and they get Ahura gets notices a weird message from this mining planet, and it's from the other officer who has gone off on her own, and
La'an,
it's like
right? Is that what it is, La'an?
Yeah, it's La'an Nguyen.
La'an, yeah. Like I said, bad with the names. So, they go off to help her. Turns out it's a big Klingon plot. Some Klingons want to get the war going again with the Federation.
No, separatist Klingons. It's separatist humans as well. So it's not like the actual Klingons, which I think it's such a tentative moment in Star Trek history right now where it's real. Yeah. So
they've been at war with the Klingons until very, very recently. They are finally in a peace mode. This mining planet is actually a shared territory where the Federation gets it for 30 days and they can do mining, and then the Klingons get it for 30 days and they can do mining. So it's separatist Klingons, who are like, no, like we have to be at war because we're warriors, And so they're
Not like how
trying
the humans
to,
are like, we got to be at war because it's good for business. It's like, that makes sense. Okay.
yeah, we're capitalists.
Sounds like us.
Humans are capitalists at our core, you know. So yeah, the Klingons get this, you know, a starship. I assume maybe it was, you know, crashed or something there.
They built the starship tech by tech. How cool is that? Like,
oh, is that how it was?
Yeah, so like that's why they were building it underneath.
Super
Like,
explained.
Yeah, they built the ship piece by piece and then just be like, hide it, you know, and then they're gonna use it.
I thought maybe it was, you know, that was one thing I was trying to figure out. I was thinking maybe it was like it had crashed on the planet during the war, you know, so they just like rebuilt it there underground. But yeah, either way, they pop up with this Federation ship that they've pulled together from, I guess, parts that they've found on their journeys. And they're going to attack, like suicide attack, this Klingon cruiser, which is of course going to start the war.
Yes.
So, you know, there's the Enterprise hiding in the rings of the planet like the Enterprise does. And because we haven't seen that before. And they, you know, chase him down and they shoot him. And then, you know, of course, the Klingon commander is like, you're attacking us. We're going to kill you. And I don't believe in logic and reason, you Vulcan piece of junk. And Spock talks him down. They have a big party at the end. And of course, you know, they get back and there's no repercussions for anything, you know.
Of course.
Yeah, you know, Spock gets off with a warning because they stole the Enterprise out of space dock. They had to come up with this plot to make it look like an emergency just so they would they were like, oh, you know, you're going to explode. You have to leave the space dock. Get out of here. And they were like, okay. And then they left. And space dock, the Federation, you know, is like, hello, Starfleet here? You just stole a starship? Our flagship? You know, the Enterprise is always a flagship. It's, whew.
I really liked this episode. Two of my favorite things about this episode. First off, Spock starts the episode. We saw in the end of last season, he loses his control over his emotion. For those who know Star Trek, Vulcans have a lot of emotion. It's just that they train all their lives to suppress them. So when they do lose them, they're out of control. And so, and he's half human, so it doesn't help that either. And it's like a detriment in the beginning of the episode. He's worried about taking command. And then we see by the end of the episode, the fact that he showed aggression, initiative, things that were his human side is the reason it worked out with the Klingons. Because if he was just pure Vulcan, logic would have failed that conversation with the pissed off Klingon. And I think it was the human side that was like, we got him for you. And it was like, yeah. So I like that was the thing.
That guy's awesome. The guy that plays Spock, I mean, he's so good.
He's awesome. Yeah,
he's fantastic. This was a great episode for Spock.
Yeah. We also got a brand new character for the franchise, for the series, played by Carol Kane. This is going to be Pelia, and I think she's going to be a really vital piece because she's going to be around. I think we're going to find out that she probably served along Archer, which is a character that doesn't get tied to much of other Star Trek stuff, but Archer's ship was the first Enterprise and stuff like that, and she's been alive for what feels like forever, as well. We know it's basically endless, and she's been on Earth this the whole time, so she could be a really cool like history piece, and actually served alongside Spock's mom.
Got it. Could you kind of explain what her race is called? Because I know they were all freaking out about it, and they're like, "You're a blah blah blah," and they were all like excited. What is? Yeah, what is she?
Her race is called. I'm looking at her. Lanthanite.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they are brand new. Is created right now. So cool. What it is they are the aliens. According to I read the Wikipedia on them. They are the aliens that like live among us. Like I think of like X-Files terms. They live among us this entire time, and then in the 22nd century, we find out that aliens have been among us this whole time, and it's them. And they are almost ageless to where they've been here since, Civil War. They were here when the Greek were doing their thing. And it's like, oh, I can't wait to find out about this species. That's a cool species to have kind of tied into our history a little bit. So And I'm hoping we find out that Pelia is like, oh yeah, Socrates, what a jerk. Like that's gonna be fun.
She kind of has that attitude, right? I mean, she kind of helps them out be able to like unlock the ship because she knows all the systems. She's been around it so long. She knows what actually would constitute an emergency so that they could go off and do their thing for the adventure. And she has this quirky personality. I think it's going to work really great with the rest of the cast.
She's from, I love her in a show called Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. And she's their landlord, and she's so freaking hilarious in that show. So when she got cast for this, I was like, yes, please be hilarious. And right off the bat, you're like, oh yeah, she's going to be wacky. That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Any highlights from this episode you guys want to make sure to mention, and any predictions for this season based off of what we saw in this one?
Scott?
It's so like I said, I watched them all yesterday. I'm really just, there's a lot of things I like about the show. Don't get me wrong. It's done a good job, but overall kind of story feels, and this is a season 1 issue for a Star Trek series, honestly, is it just kind of we about the series. In Star Trek Next Generation, it's of course the threat of the Borg. It's, in Deep Space Nine, it's the Cardassian Bajoran conflict, and then also, the war with the Dominion. In Enterprise, it's more kind of free reign, but it doesn't.
This feels like how Enterprise handled the situation, where it's like it's about exploring, which is like
right.
That's
but even
loose.
Enterprise,
TOS was that too.
There ended up being a big enemy that ended up bringing the universe to, not the universe, but the races they had met, it brought them together to fight a common enemy to actually birth the Federation of Planets. Mm-hmm. So yeah, they're just kind of wandering around doing things for the sake of things. So I'd like to see a more coherent plot line arrive, and I feel like it's going to be the Gorn, which honestly feels kind of shitty.
Why don't you like this version of the Gorn? Because it's obviously way different than the Gorn we got in TOS.
So, well, yeah, I mean, which is like one episode, right? Yeah. One episode with the Gorn in TOS. I mean, they're just so we get teased this war with the Romulans, which looked so crazy just to even think about. And then we get teased with this, oh, what about another war with the Klingons? I mean, I know Star Trek is supposed to be about exploration and the exploring humanity is what it really boils down to.
Right,
but
of course.
I think there is another side of humanity that should be explored, and a lot of that is explored in Deep Space Nine when they're at war with the Dominion. It's pretty much the only time we've seen the Federation of Planets at war with a powerful enemy. So like we get teased with the Romulans, we get teased with maybe they're going to go to war with the Klingons if this plot works out. And then it's like the Gorn, who are just, I mean, they're like pirates basically. Like who are the Gorn?
Animalistic
they're not
pirates.
This big, alliance of planets and races that can bring hundreds of powerful capital ships to a fight. They're just like a bandit tribe.
But they are, from TOS, we know that they are extremely advanced, and they are like very good hunters. The reason I like the Gorn as a bad guy is because this is a prequel series to TOS. So at the end, we need to get to that point. And in the original series, we know that we're not at war with the Romulans, that it's always like on the brink of war with them. And we know that we're still in peace, but we're like in that same thing right now where it's like an uneasy peace with Klingons. So we have to still get to that point in 7 years, basically. So Gorns are perfect because Gorns, we can go to war with them, have big skirmishes, lose many ships, gain new ships. And then at the end, we're at TOS level and we're like, Gorn fight done. All right, what's going on with Romulans now? So I think this is kind of a good like plug-in bad guy where it won't affect the timeline at all. And it works well with TOS when it's just that one Gorn ship that they both get tossed on a planet and have to fight him. Which of course the Gorn look very different. Give his suit like, and now they're actual like animals. But
I don't know. I guess as someone who's watched a lot of Star Trek,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just kind of over exploring Vulcan emotions.
Yes.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and they killed off the Andorian, who was pretty cool, right? We haven't had many Andorian characters.
I know,
in
that was a
any
shame.
of the shows. They kill him off, keep Spock. Like, I really like Spock's character, and I really like this actor for Spock. And that, you know what, those are big shoes to fill because we've had two pretty impressive Spocks in the past. And I like Captain Archer or Captain Pike. I like all the characters, but I don't like how it just seems like we're honestly rehashing all the same Star Trek stuff.
For me, and I'll just step in here real quick because you guys know way more, and this is my first time in here.
That's why we want to hear from you, though. But that's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know any of this stuff, so it is kind of interesting for me. Like it's a cool concept of because he's half Vulcan, you know, they have to suppress their emotions, but if they let their emotions out, it's like double what we experience as humans. And I'm like, wow, it's a cool concept. And it probably shouldn't be that surprising, but some of that stuff for me as a new person to it is kind of cool. And I didn't know any of it. And I like the packaging, I will say. Like the special effects look good.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the stories are unique. And when you start realizing that it's not just about adventures or whatever, but it's about like the cast interacting with each other or these characters kind of learning something about themselves because of how these other races and cultures are, it is kind of cool for me. And I'm impressed. The actors in themselves too, Anson Mount as Pike, Captain Pike is phenomenal. I mean, having Una Rebecca Romaine Stamos in there. I don't know if she's Stamos anymore, but Rebecca Romaine in there is like tight. Like I was slowly sucked into it, and I'm learning what Star Trek is about for the first time. And this is the first show where I felt like it's actually doing that for me. So
I will throw
as a
in
new
too,
person.
as for the Spock thing, this show seems to be exploring his love life more. And like, for example, he got that instrument in this episode, which you see is kind of how he flirts with Uhura in the original series. So like 7 years from now, when him and Uhura are flirting back and forth, it's because she's singing while he's playing. And that's in the very actual, I think it's like in the very second or first episode. It's very early on. And so they're setting up like, you know, like we know Nurse Chapel and him won't stay together, you know, canon wise.
Spoiler alert.
Well, I mean, just, you know, yeah,
I'm just kidding. Yeah.
that Nurse Chapel though. Oh my goodness. Oof.
Wow.
Yeah. Shout out to that.
She's pretty
that's something
cute.
That, oh yeah. We mentioned it on TO or on I'm sorry, Trek Freaks, which, you know, that might be coming back in the future, guys. But the Una character and Nurse Chapel are both played by the same actress in the original series, which was Gene Roddenberry's wife, the creator of the show's wife, and would later on be the voice for Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager of the ship. She's the ship's voice in all the future episodes. So it's cool that they brought both characters that couldn't be on screen together now in the same show again. So it's neat that they did that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I mean, it's good to hear Thomas's side because, like, as a Star Trek fan who's watched, I mean, every Star Trek except for I didn't make it through Voyager before they took it off Netflix. So I haven't finished Voyager, but you know, so I've seen them all. I've seen most of the movies, and yeah. To me, it just seems like, oh yeah, we're dealing with eugenics stuff again, which we did in Deep Space Nine. There's a big story there. We're dealing with Vulcans again. Your emotions. The Ponfar. You know, like, I mean, because they dove really, really deep into like kind of Vulcan lore during Star Trek Enterprise, which I really liked with T'Pol. You know, because there was a lot, like Spock was a little more distant, you know, in the original series, of course. The original series didn't last very long.
Tuvok did a good job with the Ponfar too, which I can't wait for Thomas to experience what the Ponfar is.
Yeah, right. Like I didn't make it far enough into Voyager, I think, to really see, you know, Tuvok deal with stuff, but I'm sure I would have because I know, it's a Vulcan in the Star Trek series. So yeah, for me, it's like, this again. You know, I know, but at least, you know, it's things like this are pulling new fans in. I think that's great.
Just real quick,
you know,
just to kind of explain
see.
the Ponfar, I think it's a couple of years, they go into heat and they have to breed. And if they don't, they go fucking crazy and tear shit up. So,
Yeah, their emotions get completely out of control.
Yeah, so these like super stoic people all of a sudden like, I'm so horny, I'm going to destroy Enterprise. And so they have to bring, and so like for Voyager, Tuvok's across the galaxy from his wife. And so he's just like, and so finally in that season, they're like, hey, here's a hologram version of your wife. Go to town, bro. And gets it out of his system. But
that reminds me of Professor
Zoidberg. They go into a
Zoidberg.
fever and everything.
Yeah, remember Professor Zoidberg from Futurama?
Yes,
same thing.
it's exactly
Every year
like
he had
that.
to like go in and like he had to breed or whatever. That's too great. Okay,
It's good stuff.
yeah, I don't know if I should be excited about that or not, but
always funny
I am
episodes.
intrigued.
Yeah. You always have like the most calm person, even like Spock in the original series, like, you know, whenever he got pissed off, it was always like, what's Leonard Nimoy doing? He's freaking out. You know, it's always fun.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
right,
and
guys.
speaking of Pod Far, man, Spock's fiance too. Goodness,
Yeah, T'Ping.
he's got
Great,
all the best ladies, you know.
He
I mean,
does, but we know with T'Ping, it doesn't work out well either. Like, we know that one's going to get real ugly.
oh, yeah. But you know, either way, there's some two very attractive women there. Spock's a lucky man.
I love that they in Cable Guy, which is such a good movie, they reenact the fight scene where Spock fights for T'Ping from the original series.
And they brought back the music too. I
Yeah.
was like, I know that music.
Yeah,
It's from the
so
Cable
good.
Guy, which is from Star Trek.
Yeah. Oh man. All right,
I can
let's go ahead.
never forget Jim Carrey.
Oh, it's so good. Just a real quick note: if you guys listen to Trek Freaks, when they reviewed that episode, I edited it in, and they talked about the music. I didn't edit in the episode's music. I put in Jim Carrey singing it instead. Yeah, it sounds super weird because it's actually Jim Carrey singing it instead.
Oh man, it is honestly a super underrated movie, and I think one of the best scenes from the 90s. Straight
It's
up.
so good. That is such a good movie. All right, let's get into the news some more. We have Disney announces some major changes to the release schedule amidst the WGA strike and some production delays and stuff like that. 1 second, it's opening up. God damn it, I forgot to open it up before we press record. So editing, Frank. Sorry.
Wow, who's late?
Hold on.
I'm still me. It's me. I'm late. I'm the late.
There you go. The link didn't open it either. Okay.
I'm very sorry about that, guys.
No worries. It happens. So some of the big changes, of course, is that like Deadpool is the only one moving forward. We're going to be getting that May 3rd now, but all the other ones are being delayed by a few months, except for both Avengers movies are getting pushed back a year. Kang Dynasty is going to be 2026 now. Secret Wars 2027. Also affected are the Avatar movies and Star Wars movies. We're in 2026, we're going to have 2 Star Wars movies now. Avatar 5, which just sounds gross to say something so big, is coming out in 2031. Oh my God, I'm going to be ancient. This is because of the WGA strike, but I also kind of like personally, I kind of think this might be good because I think with the recent Phase 4, dealing with Jonathan Major situation, we might need to kind of slow things down with the Marvel world anyways, and this might be kind of a blessing in disguise. Thomas, what are your thoughts on that?
I completely agree. When I saw it, I'm like, dang, I was a huge MCU fan. I love all the movies, like most of the shows, but I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, there's a lot of stuff Marvel needs to figure out in the next year. A lot of actors kind of in some hot water recently. VFX, were being complained about all through Phase 4. Nothing seemed to connect. Which was, there's still a lot of time to do that. And now we have even more time. So they get to put a little bit more care, a little bit more thought into each show, each movie. I think it truly is a blessing in disguise.
Yeah. I hope that, I know we're changing writers on King Dynasty and I think for Secret Wars as well. So obviously they saw there was an issue and had to address it.
Yeah, sorry, Jeff Loveness, but hey, man, Ant-Man just seemed to be not it. It was just,
It sucked. If I'm being honest, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, that was just a bad movie. After watching RRR, why can't you guys just make that again for us, please?
Right. It just it just wasn't personal to Ant-Man. And I think that's the thing. Chris Hemsworth has spoken up even about Thor Love and Thunder recently. And he was like, yeah, I admit it was a little too silly. It's just bring it back to the stakes need to be real and make it personal to the heroes. You know, like there was no true connection to Thor and Gore other than he was a god. You know, like, yeah. So
and to
I guess he
expand on
wanted
those
his
Chris
weapon.
Marks, he said, "I'm not coming back until Thor's a different character." And well, I mean, like if you read the Donny Cates Thor, which they're going to be, we heard Spider-Man 2's Venom, the game Spider-Man 2, which we're going to be talking about in a second, is going to be apparently leaning in on the Donny Cates storyline. So if they start leaning in on that kind of stuff, then Thor can be elevated to such an amazing character who has to deal with like what's it like to be a ruler and how does that change my identity and trying to live underneath my father's shadow, stuff like that, which I mean, it's just such a good storyline. And it's the second half of Thor's biggest storylines, that and always trying to be worthy for Mjolnir. So hopefully we get something like that soon.
Yeah. And we should link to our short interview that we got to do with Donny Cates at LA Comic-Con.
We will.
So yeah, we'll figure out a way to show that to everybody as well.
A link that'll be in the description. I'll make sure, and I'll put a time code for it too. And he lets us know the character he wants to write for. So yeah, you got to follow up. That's called a teaser, folks.
Oh man, teasing me. Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, obviously there's been some lights. You know, there's been some decent stuff, but yeah, they've just been kind of. You know, after that last Avengers movie, it's really just felt very directionless. And yeah, we've seen some quality seems to suffer. Like I just didn't bother with She-Hulk, not for the normal complaints, but just because every time I saw a clip or a trailer, the CGI of She-Hulk just looked so bad. I was like, I don't know if I just don't want to watch that. You know, it's nothing against She-Hulk or anything about the comics. Like I was kind of interested and I probably will watch it eventually, but it just looked so bad and I just expect better of Marvel, which I'm sure some of the people out there, the Marvel haters, are like, they were never any good, but I think they were. I really like up to Endgame. You know, there were some missteps along the way, but everything was overall pretty fun to watch.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just hasn't hit those same notes ever since.
Yeah.
Fair.
So we'll see with these delays. I know that it was kind of a shock when it first came out, myself included. I started ranting a little bit, but I think again it'll end up working out for us. Let's keep that in mind. Going into Venom for Spider-Man 2, they have confirmed it will not be Eddie Brock, which is kind of a surprise, right? My question for you guys is, who do you think it could be? I'm going to throw out, we already seen images that it's not him, but what if it's Miles Morales? And we know that Miles is fighting Venom at one point, but what if, because we see the symbiotes changing Spider-Man, and so what if in trying to save Spider-Man from the symbiote, Miles gets it on him, who has the electric abilities and might like enhance the symbiote even further? I don't know. I would just think that would be like a cool storyline to see. What do you guys think?
That'd be sweet. I don't know if they'll do that. I mean, I think that would be super cool, but Miles is such an awesome hero right now. And obviously his like stardom is like rising. His popularity is rising. I don't know if they'll go that route, but I think if anything, we got the teaser for Kraven. I could see Kraven getting the symbiote suit because he still looks like a buff Venom.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd be down with that. And we have comic basis for that as well.
I don't remember that in the comics. That happened in the comic?
Yeah, briefly. How long have popped up from the comics of Kraven wearing the symbiote suit? So I'm like, oh, okay, that's tight. That'd be pretty cool.
That does make a lot of sense too, because that's the other question I have for you guys is the first half of the game is going to be versus Kraven. It looks like second half versus Venom. So maybe during the final fight with Kraven, you lose the symbiote suit and it gets onto him, and all of a sudden he starts getting empowered by the rage that's inside Kraven from losing his first hunt. That would be really awesome. That would be a cool way to go.
Oh yeah.
Any other thoughts for who could be the new Venom?
So is this for the video game or for the?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I don't know. I didn't play the first game, and
We gotta fix that. I'm about to buy that game for you because you need to play that so much.
Oh, it's so good.
And I'm not a comic book guy, and I don't even really remember. I think there was a Spider-Man TV show, but I don't remember watching much of it. So, you know, this is not my cup of tea. Not any hate towards Spider-Man. I like Spider-Man. I just wasn't really exposed to it. So I don't know, Gwenom, is Gwenom an actual thing or is it just a cosplay thing people like to do? Gwen Stacy Venom.
Way to introduce Gwen. Yeah. If all of a sudden, like, we didn't know that Gwen was going to be in the game, and then all of a sudden it ends up being Venom, and just, like, that would be such a crazy way to introduce Gwen.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I feel like they're trying to build up Miles Morales to like be the new Spider-Man almost. So it could be an interesting storyline for him, but I guess I don't know. Maybe they already have you playing Spider-Man as with a symbiote suit, so I don't know if they would just be like, now you're playing as Miles Morales, the Venom character.
I'm hoping that in the expansion on this, we get to play as Miles is basically the expansion to the first one. And if we could play as Venom, maybe even playing through the story again, but in Venom's suit would be really cool. Or maybe actually even better than that, I'm saying this, top of my head, is maybe if it is Kraven and then Venom gets on Eddie Brock, who's taking pictures of this big fight with and he becomes the new character and reins him in. Like, I think that would be fun. I just think that now, especially going back to the Donny Cates of it all, Venom is far less a bad guy. And I know Squeaks is going to hate that when he hears that. Venom is far less a bad guy now than he ever has been. He is now an anti-hero, and to some degree, he's just a straight-up hero. So
absolutely. The All-Out Carnage run, I think it was called. Venom and Spider-Man team up, and it's such a cool comic. And it's the partnership you would not expect in a way, but it just works so well. I can see at the end of the game, if it is Kraven, which that's kind of the way I'm leaning. Mm-hmm. Then it leaves Kraven after they defeat him, and it finds Eddie Brock, who through the story and through Spider-Man Peter Parker kind of being a little bit more angry that we see all in the trailers, like the Venom is taking over and he's becoming, the guy that we saw from the movies, or, just kind of brings out the worst in you. I can see he pisses off Eddie Brock during the game, and then at the end, Venom finds Eddie Brock, and boom, they combine because of their hate for Spider-Man, for Peter Parker. Now they want to take him down. So I could see that ending. Plus, we get a little bit of the powers with Peter Parker in the Venom suit. So it's going to be awesome. I cannot wait for this game. It's like, I think this is the game I'm looking forward to the most this year.
Probably at this point, I think for me as well. I want to give a quick shout out to over on Headlines, which is our show that also airs on TikTok. The comment section has been thinking it's going to be Flash Thompson, and they've been discussing that, and they all kind of agree that it's Flash Thompson's going to get it.
We haven't seen Flash Thompson, I don't think, in the game yet.
Not yet, no. But it would be a good time to introduce him as just like they did with what's her name, like Chief Yon or something like that. The cop that you're helping becomes a bad guy or vigilante. Mm-hmm. This could be like, oh, hey, there's this kid at school that I'm working with or whatever. All of a sudden he becomes a bad guy by the halfway point of the game. Could be fun.
That would be awesome. Yeah, I'm on board with that.
Moving into James Gunn, he's addressing Blue Beetle, a question we've all had. This is a quote from him in an interview we had with the Inside of You podcast. The first DCU character for sure is Blue Beetle, and the first full DCU movie is Superman. Now, this kind of surprised me because I thought Superman is going to be the beginning of the DCU, and we're not going to carry anything forward, and I kind of still want that. But Blue Beetle, I guess this means that he doesn't touch any of the rest of the DCEU. And I'm wondering, okay, if you're going to bring Blue Beetle forward, who's he going to team him up with? I don't think he really fits anywhere with anything that's currently planned. Can you guys think of anything?
There's definitely...
No,
Oh, sorry, go for it, Scott.
It's just really out of left field. Blue Beetle isn't really a character we've experienced much on screen, at least. Mm-hmm. I don't know, how big he is in comics, but certainly not a name you hear very often, if at all. We saw him once, I think, in Smallville, like one episode. So props for trying something different, because I'm always saying I wish they'd start with something besides Superman and Batman. That's what we always do. But we're still gonna have a Superman movie right after. But yeah, could be interesting. And Blue Beetle, I guess, if he is sort of an untethered character, I guess there's no telling what they can bring into that series to tie it into other things.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We know that we're getting a Booster Gold show So there at some point is a tie-in there. Plus he's been adjacent to the Justice League before. I think with the Brave and the Bold coming out, and depending on the age of those characters, there's a way that they could bring him in there along with a young Superman. I mean, we don't know how the timeline's going to shake out in the DCU, and I haven't seen the new, I saw the Flash, but only the early preview. I didn't see the post-credit scene. So depending on how the Flash works, I think that's really going to shape how the DCU moves forward with new characters. And by all accounts, Blue Beetle looks awesome.
I'm glad you brought this up. We're going to keep this spoiler free, of course. And we have a full review for the Flash over on Challenge Accepted. Go check that out. But knowing what you know from the Flash, and from these comments, it sounds like Flash is actually not going forward. I kind of thought they were going to use Flash still in the DCU. It sounds like they're completely ditching it. Do you think that Flash ended the DCU? Well, we have Aquaman as well. The DCEU well.
For me, based on what I saw, and they said before the early screening, this is not the final cut. Yeah, I think so. I think it leaves the door open for all kind of newness in the universe. And if it stops here, that's fine. But it leaves the door open for other universes that may exist. And yeah, maybe we're not in the DCEU anymore. I think it works.
Okay.
Yeah,
I like that idea. I like the idea that like Snyderverse is a different universe that we don't have to visit again or something like that if we don't want to. Okay.
Yeah. I don't want to.
Same. I forgot about the Booster Gold series. I think it would be interesting for them to immediately attach him to Blue Beetle, because that's when they're really awesome, is when Blue Beetle and Booster Gold are together. That is such a cool combo. So I'm excited for that all of a sudden.
Yeah, I mean, and the Robbie Reyes is a Marvel. Jaime Reyes, Blue Beetle, that they're going with is young. So, I mean, there's an opportunity to introduce him to some of the Titans. And if we're going to Brave and the Bold with Batman, we're talking about Damian Wayne. That means out there in the world somewhere is a Dick Grayson, and he's probably already protecting his city as Nightwing. So if there's a Nightwing out there, there's also maybe a Teen Titans out there. That's a perfect segue in for Blue Beetle.
And being the main protectors of Earth. So there's definitely this idea of like, I fully think we're going to get a Nightwing who's like a full-time cop kind of thing is going to happen. I think we're at that phase now in DC, and I think that the main public is so ready for that. We do not need to see someone's parents die in the alley anymore. We're done with that. We get he's Batman.
What? So. You don't want to see another Batman origin story? I mean, dude, I don't know if you know, right? But his parents were killed in an alley, and he just never got over it, you know? And that fueled his need to save his city from corruption.
Spoiler alert,
and I really want to see
Batmans
that again. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They never even talk about it. How, I mean, like there's one time where they show it's Joker, it's Jack Nicholson's Joker. Other than that, they never really talk about how, you know, they never mention Joe Chill. And it would be funny if they like at one point did the Joe Chill storyline. I think would be nice to be like, hey, look, it's just some random bad guy. It wasn't anybody crazy, which would be interesting to do. All right, let's head into some network news before we head out. Those patrons, please make sure you guys update your address. Scott, you're one of them. Make sure you guys update your address because the 5-year patron gifts are ordered and they're going to be shipping out. So I'm going to be getting them in about a week and a half. And then at that point, I ship them out to you guys. So make sure, and I go off the addresses that are on your Patreon account. So please make sure those are all up to date. Season 1 finale for Disney Moms Gone Wrong is out now. They did The Little Mermaid. The audio for it, I mean, if you're a fan of Little Disney Moms, you're not surprised by this. Not great. I just talked to Diana about it, and she doesn't know what happened, but apparently very echoey. So season 2, we joked around about like Frank's going on a road trip and he's going to go to everybody's houses and fix their fucking mics one last time. So, but it's a really good episode. They really get into a pretty heated debate over there over The Little Mermaid and the validness of the live action movies and stuff like that. So check that out. And then Who's Got Next Game podcast. 2 things. They got a special guest coming up on this next episode. Really cool episode. It's all about arcade gaming and its effects on their childhood. And then they have their first live episode that they have recorded and is coming up in a couple weeks that they did down in the Phoenix area. So check that out, guys. That's Who's Got Next Game podcast. Really solid podcast from the Tyler crew. But that's it for us this week, guys. Again, check out Headlines where we have the daily headlines We have Geek Chat on Friday with Thomas and myself. And Challenge Accepted is going to be starting up their Secret Invasion run. So make sure you guys subscribe to Challenge Accepted, where we are raising money for food can, basically. God damn, Frank, that was bad. Join us over on Challenge Accepted, where we are doing a food drive and getting some food into the food banks and making sure that people get fed in January. I'm excited for that. That's really
absolutely.
fun.
And if you want to see Frank in a Seahawks hat, definitely listen to Challenge Accepted because, we need to make that happen as well.
Yeah. So let's make sure we get enough in there so I don't have to worry about that, and I can get him in a Cowboys hat.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for joining us this week, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye.